Americans are leaving this country in record numbers. And I'm not talking about vacation. I'm talking packing their bags, booking their flights, and leaving for good.
Americans have started to leave the US because of the rise of authoritarianism. And this is something that should absolutely not be taken lightly. I literally saw a report this morning from Australia talking about how they have some applications from this year of people seeking human rights shelter because they are scared of what's going to happen to them. They want to have a backup plan if things go to shit so they can go to Australia and get a visa. And that's absolutely nothing new. Canada has also opened up a program to Americans that may potentially want to leave the country as a sort of political refugee.
2025. The American dream has left the building, literally. More than 9 million Americans are now living outside the United States, and the number's climbing fast. We're not talking about retirees sipping wine in Tuscany. We're talking about teachers, nurses, IT workers, even young families who looked around and said, enough. Because here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. Life in the U.S. has become unaffordable, unsafe, and unsustainable for millions of its own citizens. Wages aren't keeping up with rent. Healthcare can bankrupt you faster than illness itself. And people are realizing they can live better, sometimes 3 times cheaper, in places where the rent is sane, the groceries don't drain your paycheck, and healthcare doesn't destroy your savings. So they're packing their bags, selling their homes, and restarting their lives overseas. Not because they hate America, but because America stopped working for them. Walk with me, because in this video, we're going to break down why even Americans don't want to stay anymore. The money, the safety, the healthcare, the freedom, and what this mass exodus says about the state of the nation in 2025. Let's start with the numbers, because they don't lie. As of 2025, over 9 million Americans are living abroad. That's more than the population of New York City. And this isn't a fringe movement of retirees chasing sunshine. These are working-class professionals, young couples and families, trading the stress of survival for a chance at stability. They call it the expat wave. Some are heading south, to Mexico, Costa Rica, and Panama, where rent for a full apartment costs less than a studio in Los Angeles. Others are moving to Portugal, Spain, or Thailand, drawn by affordable healthcare, slower living, and the radical idea that you shouldn't have to destroy yourself just to get by. Here's what's different now. This isn't just about travel or wanderlust. It's about escape. People aren't leaving to see the world. They're leaving because the world outside offers something America no longer guarantees: safety, affordability, and breathing room. And the more the U.S. economy squeezes its own citizens, the more that number grows. Every statistic tells the same story. The American dream didn't just fade, it's catching flights out of the country. Every exodus starts with a breaking point. And for millions of Americans, it's the math that finally broke them. Wages are crawling, but prices are sprinting. In 2025, the average worker's pay is up just 4%, but rent has jumped nearly 30% in some cities. Grocery bills have doubled since 2020, and health insurance premiums are climbing faster than mortgage rates. People aren't chasing luxury anymore, they're chasing survival. Families with decent jobs are skipping doctor visits, rationing groceries, and watching half their paycheck vanish on housing alone. And when you realize you can rent a beach apartment in Mexico for $800 a month, or pay $2,600 for a one-bedroom in Phoenix, the decision starts to feel less like fantasy and more like common sense. That's the new American equation. Work harder, get less, and still fall behind. The middle class isn't shrinking, it's drowning. And for many, leaving the country isn't rebellion, it's self-preservation. The truth is, the cost of living in America isn't just unsustainable, it's insulting. And people are done paying a premium for a life that feels like debt on repeat. For a lot of Americans, the breaking point isn't the rent, it's the hospital bill. The U.S. has some of the most advanced medicine on earth and the most bankrupt patients. A single trip to the ER can run you $4,000 to $6,000 even with insurance. Need an ambulance? That's another $1,500. And if you need surgery, good luck. It's cheaper to fly overseas, get it done, and recover on a beach. That's not a joke, that's a growing trend. Medical tourism is exploding because Americans can't afford care in their own country. People are flying to Mexico for dental work, Thailand for surgery, and Costa Rica for prescriptions that cost a fraction of what they do back home. Here's the harsh reality. The US doesn't have a healthcare system, it has a billing system, and it's one that punishes you for getting sick. Families aren't leaving because they hate America. They're leaving because one accident, one diagnosis, one emergency can erase a lifetime of work. So when you see Americans relocating abroad, understand this. They're not escaping healthcare. They're escaping medical debt disguised as healthcare. For others, it's not the money, it's the madness. The US doesn't feel safe anymore, and people are tired of pretending it does. Parents are sending their kids to school wondering if they'll come home. Cities that used to feel alive now feel tense, divided, unpredictable. And in neighborhoods that were once middle-class strongholds, you hear the same phrase whispered over and over. It's just not the same anymore. Meanwhile, the cost of mental peace has skyrocketed. Locking your doors at night used to be enough. Now, people are locking their budgets, their emotions, their expectations. They're exhausted by politics, by chaos, by the constant pressure to stay alert. And when they visit places like Portugal, Japan, or Costa Rica, they feel something they haven't felt in years: calm. It's not that life abroad is perfect. It's that life there feels livable. Kids walk home safely. Neighbors still talk to each other. Healthcare doesn't destroy you, and crime isn't the background noise of everyday life. That's the shift. People aren't chasing adventure anymore. They're chasing sanity. Because sometimes, safety isn't about where you are, it's about what you've stopped feeling every single day. Here's the twist most people don't realize. Leaving America doesn't mean you've escaped it. Even when you move overseas, Uncle Sam still follows the money. The US is one of the only countries on Earth that taxes its citizens no matter where they live. You could be sipping coffee in Lisbon, working remotely in Bali, or teaching English in Seoul, and the IRS still expects a cut. That means millions of expats are filing 2 tax returns every year. One to their new country, one to the US. It's called citizenship-based taxation, and it's the financial leash that keeps Americans tethered long after they've left. Some even give up their citizenship completely just to escape it. The number of renunciations has been quietly climbing, year after year. And it's not just taxes. Try keeping a US bank account abroad or using certain online services. The bureaucracy makes sure you never forget where you came from. So yes, you can leave the country. You can change your address, your job, your life. But financially, you're still in the system. The American dream might be gone, but the American paperwork never dies. For decades, leaving America meant burning your bridges, quitting your job, selling your house, and starting from zero. But 2025 changed the rules. Now, people aren't just leaving physically, they're leaving digitally. Remote work cracked open the door, and digital nomad visas kicked it wide open. Suddenly, Americans can log into Zoom from a balcony in Lisbon, manage clients from a cafe in Medellin, or build startups from beach towns in Thailand. What used to be called running away is now rebranded as working remotely. And let's be honest, that rebrand made escape socially acceptable. Governments worldwide saw the opportunity and jumped on it. Portugal, Spain, and Mexico all created long-term visas for digital workers. You bring your income, they give you lower costs, better weather, and actual work-life balance. It's the kind of win-win that makes staying home look irrational. And here's the kicker. It's not just young freelancers. It's corporate employees, parents, and even retirees. The pandemic taught everyone one lesson. If your job lives online, you don't have to. What used to be a dream for the bold few is now a quiet movement. Millions unplugging from the grind and logging in from somewhere that actually feels alive. Leaving America isn't just a financial or lifestyle decision, it's an emotional surgery. You're not just changing locations, you're cutting ties with an identity you were raised to believe was permanent. For generations, being American meant freedom, opportunity, the best in the world. But when you start a new life abroad, you realize how much of that belief was marketing. Talk to any expat and you'll hear the same story. At first, it feels strange, using a different currency, learning new customs, realizing how small America looks from the outside. But then something shifts. You start breathing easier. You stop flinching at medical bills. You stop living paycheck to paycheck. And you start wondering, was I ever really free back home? That's the identity crisis millions are quietly facing. They still love their country, but they no longer recognize it. The flag, the anthem, the slogans, they hit differently when the reality doesn't match. So they build a new version of home, one that isn't defined by borders or politics, but by peace, affordability, and dignity. Maybe that's not abandoning the American dream. Maybe it's redefining it. The American dream used to mean you could build a better life where you were born. In 2025, it means you might have to leave to find it. And that's the most heartbreaking part. Millions of Americans still believe in the dream. They just stopped believing it exists here. They're not unpatriotic. They're not running away. They're doing what Americans have always done, chasing opportunity. Only now, that opportunity is somewhere else. In the quiet streets of Portugal, in the beaches of Mexico, in the mountain towns of Ecuador. Places where life still feels human, where working doesn't mean suffering, and where peace of mind isn't a luxury. Maybe the American dream didn't die. Maybe it just packed its bags. Maybe it got tired of endless rent hikes, collapsing systems, and empty promises. And maybe, just maybe, it found a new home where freedom actually feels free. Because for millions of Americans today, the new dream isn't a white picket fence. It's a one-way ticket.